And we also provide a lot of resources and education regarding utilities like water, not water, I should say, electric, gas, and phone. But we also support and oppose water privatization by the big companies.
Thanks, and I will be the moderator for this evening. Ayana Simba, City Government Affairs Director at the Illinois Environmental Council. So for the agenda today, we're gonna go through, we've done our welcome and introductions, and then Yvonne will kick us off with a presentation about how to read your water bill, and then we'll have a moderated panel along with a Q&A. So if you have questions for folks online, please make sure to add it to the chat or to use the raise your hand during the Q&A portion. And then finally, we'll have a call to action from Oliver, and then we will close out. So that is what we have planned on the agenda. And with that, we can kick things off. So.
Hello again. Like I said, I am the outreach director. And for those of you that are not yet familiar with CUB, CUB is a nonprofit organization that advocates for consumers' rights before the utility companies. And we also do work. A lot of the work in my department is grassroots education, but we also have a hotline that provides support to consumers when they have questions or complaints regarding their utility bills. And we offer a service called utility bill analysis, which you can see. I don't know if you can see my slides on the screen yet or no. There is a email address where you can send copies of your gas, electric, and phone bill, and we can contact you with a personalized analysis of them and give you tailored advice on how to lower those bills. Today I'm here to explain how the water bill works, or what it consists of. And your water bill basically will always include water usage, sewer services, and taxes. Each water bill here in the city, the water bill is different than in other municipalities, but basically these are like the main parts of the bill. The bills are calculated based on either a meter usage or a non-meter assessment. So specifically here in Chicago, there are households that have a meter and there are households that don't have a meter. So for those that don't have a meter, they do an assessment or an estimate of the water usage based on the size of the home and other factors. Your bill includes account summary, previous balance, payments, current charges, the water usage details, and services, service charges, and other fees. So some of the factors that impact the rates for water depend on each municipality. Here in Chicago, those rates are set by factors that include cost of maintaining and upgrading the water infrastructure, local policies and ordinances, and also the economy. And other initiatives like water conservation or programs that may be available and are paid through consumer contributions. So the billing cycle will depend. Some municipalities have send out a bill twice a month. Some of them do it every month. Basically, the households that have a meter will likely get a bill every month. And those that don't have a meter will get one bill every other month. So the payments are due on the date specified. And what happens if a bill becomes delinquent? So if you're late on any bill, not just your water bill, we always advise people that the first thing is to contact the utility company, contact the water department, and ask, find out what your options are. because then, some of the consequences are late fees, or they, may have an interest, added to your, past due bill. And, in extreme cases, it will go to collections. And, these, first steps are, of course, the main reason is because you want to, avoid disconnection. Once you are disconnected, basically, you kind of lose all the protections that that a customer has. So we want to avoid the disconnection, and, contacting the utility company is the first step. There are some resources that you can, check on, like the Chicago Utility Bill Relief. That's, for those here in Chicago, and, also the utility companies usually, offer payment arrangements. They'll ask you for a down payment. They'll set up a payment arrangement so that you can, make a monthly, payment toward the debt. And in terms of policy, this is what I can, speak of regarding what the work that we do as CUB. CUB, opposes unjustified rate increases. We, challenged a proposed rate hike last year that, from Aqua Illinois and, Illinois American Water, to increase the rates. Luckily, the rate hike was approved, unfortunately, but not to the extent of what they were asking. So it was reduced, because otherwise, bills for some municipalities would have increased by $30 per month. And, we do advocacy against, privatization, water privatization. And, that's the broad work that CUP is doing right now, in terms of water. Unfortunately, we don't have jurisdiction in every single municipality. For the city of Chicago, I can speak that, if you ever face any, issues like late payments, or you are trying to negotiate something with the city of Chicago, we do have contacts, but that's basically the only, municipality that we, can advocate with, for a consumer on a case, on a individual case by case. So, those customers that might be facing any issues with the Chicago Water Department can contact our hotline. But, the issues will be something like a late payment, or very simple things. Other than that, we don't have much jurisdiction. We do offer consumer education, and we have a page on our website that is dedicated to water. And we have information about how to save water. And in fact, I brought some fact sheets today, how to understand your water bill, and to keep you updated about the policies that we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. So for now, we're gonna open up to the panel. So I know they all gave an introduction, but I want to give an even better one. Yvonne Rocher, who just spoke, is the Director of Outreach at Citizens Utility Board. Yvonne Rocher has joined the Citizens Utility Board 13 years ago as Outreach Director. Yvonne leads the team that educates Illinois utility customers on various topics such as energy efficiency programs, consumers' rights, and utility bill savings, establishing relationships with other community organizations, and serving both English and Spanish-speaking constituents. Right here next to me is Annalisa Gonzalez-Castle, who is the Director of Water Policy at Elevate. Annalisa Gonzalez-Castle serves as the Director of Water Policy at Elevate, a national nonprofit based in Chicago that works to advance safe, clean, affordable water, energy, heating, and cooling for all. Annalisa leverages research and analysis, multi-sector partnerships, and strategic communications to develop and promote water security policy solutions. And then finally, we have Oliver Citroen, who is the Environmental Justice Coordinator and Organizer at Southsiders Organized for Unity and Liberation, also known as SOUL. Oliver is an intersectional environmentalist, believing that inclusivity is critical in the protection of both people and the planet. Oliver is a graduate of the University of Illinois at Chicago, studying urban planning, sustainability, and disability justice. He has combined his education and lived experience to propel Seoul towards a sustainable future that comes from a deep place of love for the community. Oliver serves as the environmental justice coordinator and organizer, aiding in the fight for affordable water for all Chicagoans through the Water for All campaign, as well as campaigns to deprivatize water systems in Chicago's south suburbs. So we have a very amazing family here with us. I am going to start us off with a question, and this might be a little bit more for Yvonne and Oliver. But what are the biggest drivers of high water bills in our communities, and what policy tools do we have to address them? I know Yvonne answered some of this, but Oliver, I don't know if you wanted to chime in as well.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have Yvonne anything to add, first of all? Yeah, so I would say right off of the top of what leads to unaffordable bills is a lack of infrastructure updates that are happening in the city of Chicago. We have IT infrastructure that hasn't been updated in many decades, and that obviously needs to happen. There's also there's an interest in wanting to do this. There's many aldermen that do want to be doing this type of work. But there's somewhat of a lack of momentum towards it. It's also just a nationwide issue that's currently happening as water rates are increasing all across the country. In Chicago, they've quadrupled over the last 15 years. So that's definitely part of it. An additional piece as to why water rates are increasing on that water and sewer part of your water bill that you receive each month or bi-monthly, however you receive your water bill, is potentially part of the city's, what's it called? I think employment pension obligations that are often passed off onto the water and sewer tax. This totals over $775 million that are passed off onto consumers. So that's also an additional piece, but overall, we're just seeing water rates continuing to increase as we're seeing infrastructure updates that are desperately needing to happen. Yvonne, did you have any?
I think, some of the, other, factors that contribute to high water bills are, water loss. Sometimes, homes have a leak. And believe it or not, if there's a leak in your home and you're constantly losing water, even if it's just like small drops, it contributes to that. The infrastructure upgrades, of course, is one of them. And also billing frequency. If your bill comes twice or every other month, of course, you're gonna have a higher bill. Also efficiency at home. There are ways to make your home more efficient in terms of not just energy, but also water. Using like faucet aid heaters is a great way to lower your water usage. Having efficient water shower heads, it's another way. But also privatization brings bills quite high. The rates increase when municipalities are taken over by the big corporations, and then they pass on those that cost to the customers.
Annalisa, I have a question that's more geared towards you. How can we improve transparency and public understanding of the other question is, what are some of the barriers to homeowners to replace lead pipes? So switching a little bit from water affordability here.
Sure. First, I'll say there's a direct connection between lead service line replacement and water affordability. In the Chicagoland region, we see estimates for replacing lead service lines, which is the pipe that carries water from the water main under the street to the home. We're seeing estimates in the $20,000 to $30,000 per replacement. Right now, there are very few supports for private homeowners, which to me is an affordability challenge. That's not something I can afford. So in terms of barriers to actually getting lead, which is toxic to human health and especially dangerous for young children, in terms of barriers to getting that out of your drinking water system, cost is a huge one. Both in terms of the burden that falls on private homeowners and just as municipal water systems are pursuing lead service line replacement in compliance with state and now federal policy, that's gonna be a huge pressure on water rates. So again, very much connected to the affordability issue. For the programs that do exist that offer support to homeowners in getting their lead lines replaced with non-lead healthier alternatives, we also see a lot of very long wait lines and enrollment barriers, whether it's sort of just the administrative process and where there are means tested programs available, for example, only to low-income households, or as the program that Elevate runs, daycares, so licensed childcare facilities. There's a lot of proving that and proving those circumstances. It's a lot of submitting paperwork. Sometimes there's only so many hours in a day, and sometimes there are language barriers and other just administrative hurdles. And then once folks do get enrolled, sometimes we see really long wait lines. And before even moving toward enrollment, there's not always a lot of clarity on why it's important to take that step to get the lead line replaced. People, of course, want to protect their health, protect their children's health, and we don't want to be alarmist and say and overplay the threat. But any sort of disruption to a lead line that could cause lead leaching into drinking water is a risk. And so figuring out how to message that to people to help them understand why action needs to be taken, and then also what the intervening steps are. So best practices around flushing your water, filters, some filters, which are not a permanent solution, but can be helpful. Like all of that education and sort of messaging needs to be a lot clearer and a lot more widely available. So cost, administrative challenges, and just lack of understanding and clear messaging are the primary barriers that we see in lead service line replacement.
Thank you. I guess kind of to that point, maybe on a more positive note, are there financing and grant programs that are available specifically for daycare operators? I know that's who Elevate works with. Are there any like financing and grant opportunities available to daycare facilities who want to proactively replace their lead service lines?
Yeah, definitely. So at Elevate, we run a series of programs designed to help childcare facilities test their water, which is both a compliance issue and also just good practice. We help them get samples off to the lab, interpret and analyze their results, and identify sort of mitigation strategies like some of the things I mentioned. So we do that statewide in Illinois. And then in Cook County specifically, we were able to leverage ARPA funds, so the American Rescue Plan Act, together with Cook County, to actually provide lead service line replacement to those childcare facilities. So getting out there and doing the work. And what's unique about that program is that we also offer wraparound services like restoring the property after construction's taken place, which can be a hard thing to find public funding for. But the ARPA dollars are flexible enough to be able to offer that, which again reduces some of the barriers or hesitance that we see, that we understand, right, that comes from private property owners. And then in the city of Chicago, the city offers a lead service line replacement program for childcare facilities, and Elevate has a complementary program called Lead Care Complete, where we offer some of those follow-up testing services and again help daycare operators understand what that means for their water. And I want to also acknowledge that most childcare facilities in the state of Illinois are operated out of homes. Most of those facilities are run by women of color who are small business operators and also caretakers, which is a big job. That's why we need to make it as easy as possible to access resources and ensure safe water.
Thank you. Yeah, and I growing up, I had not. That was like a daycare operator, and so This is before a lot of the attention was towards, this is before the flood crisis, and so I always wonder like if she knew and what resources could have been provided. I know family members that do have lead service lines are a little bit hesitant sometimes because they don't know what's available. So I appreciate you for sharing some of the resources that are out there for people. Pivoting back a little bit to water affordability, maybe more so for Yvonne and Oliver, can you speak to how late fee shutoffs or liens impact vulnerable residents and what reforms are being considered to reduce the harm?
Or,
I wouldn't, I don't have.
okay, great. Awesome. So I love to talk about liens and foreclosures, not in a fun way, as in a we need to ban them kind of way. So my main work has been around the Water for All ordinance, which expands the utility billing relief program in Chicago, which is the current water affordability assistance program. I'll speak a little bit about that at the end, but just want to preface that expands the eligibility for homeowners and also additionally for renters, and increases the income threshold and bans liens and foreclosures due to unpaid water bills. So right now in the city, there has been a ban on water shutoffs and a ban on water privatization for the last 2 years, I believe, has been the case, which is amazing. I love that. But there is not a ban on liens and foreclosures. So if I can't pay my water bill, I can still lose my home, which is really unacceptable. There was actually an article I saw earlier today, which was looking at the Chicago Sun-Times did around property taxes and people getting their homes taken away based on liens and foreclosures put on their property. Walk with me a second on that. Is basically say that I got a water bill. I'm used to getting billed $200, $300 every couple of months. My bill spiked to $21,000 for 1 month, and I have no explanation as to why. And I'm really, really scared because I can't get on the city's regular payment plan. Maybe I don't qualify for utility billing relief and I need some sort of thing to happen. And I'm fretting about this because I don't want anything to be wrong with this thing. And my property taxes are coming up at the exact same time. So what do I prioritize? Do I prioritize getting this water bill taken care of? Do I prioritize my property taxes? It can really be up in the air. But with property taxes, Illinois is the most regressive state with collecting homes based on liens and foreclosures, even though there's a Supreme Court decision saying that they can no longer really do that in a kind of meaningful way. Illinois finds a way to skirt around to do this, which does apply to Chicagoans. And we are seeing that it's happening in majority Black households and majority elderly Black households as well, which is what we see overall with who is getting the highest water bills and who is applying for the current assistance program. So we know that there is definitely an overlap over here. So I will say, additionally with that, there's been a bunch of stuff that's happened this month that's maybe been thinking about this question. Is also every 2 years, there's a State of the Black Chicago report that goes out. And it's similar to the way that it was 2 years ago as well. And in that case, it stated that Black households have $0 in net worth and white households have $250,000 in net worth. And we know that net worth is mostly accumulated through home ownership. And if I have a lien or foreclosure put on my property, I cannot pass that wealth down, even though I may have owned this home and my parents own this home, and it goes on in that sort of way. It can still be completely taken away because I'm not able to afford my water bill because I have a faulty meter, or because I'm just getting a wrong reading that says I used $60,000 of water in the last month when that's physically impossible. So overall, I would say like that's how it's impacting residents 1,000%, is that you're getting your household taken away, you're getting generational wealth taken away, and you can just have your home entirely taken away and you can't pass it on to your children. And again, it's happening to majority Black households that are headed by women who are elderly women. So we need to make sure that there's a ban on that practice altogether because it's regressive and it's racist and it enforces segregation. Thank you.
Definitely a clap for that. And yeah, I think what you're referring to is the Chicago Urban League. They just recently had like a gathering, a breakfast, and they talked about the one that's for 2025. And I think that's a huge point about just something as simple like a water bill can literally destroy somebody's wealth. And even though it's something that's meant to be good and passed down, it can actually end up being a burden for a lot of people, and it shouldn't be that way. So I really appreciate you as a Black Chicagoan for bringing that up. Oliver, I know that you have mentioned about Water for All, but other similar policies in other cities. What lessons can we learn from other cities that have made water billing more equitable?
I'm so happy you asked because this is working. It's really, really working, and Chicago needs to get on board with this as well. And we have an entire thing that's baked in that's ready for a vote. And I'll get to that at the end because I'm very excited about it. But Philadelphia and Baltimore both have water affordability programs. I'll speak to Philadelphia, which has had a program going on since 2018, which is like super cool. We have really consistent data for this. So they've been able to look at like year over year, people that are able to apply for the program. Their eligibility is very similar to our eligibility, though there's, I think it's like 200% of the federal poverty line. Ours is 250. That's just how close you are to the thing. So there's just like a little bit less, but it's also for renters, which doesn't currently exist in our city. It exists in their city. They have a similar renter rate as we do as well. So we're able to kind of see on an even level what's actually working and how it'll apply to renters. But they're seeing after 2 years of completing their technical assistance program, it's just called TAP, that after 2 years, people are paying back 90% of their water bills and getting their debt completely wiped. And these are the people that are enrolled in the program. It's very similar to how we'd like to see for Water for All. It's very similar to what we see for utility billing relief, which exists in the city right now, versus people that aren't enrolled but are eligible for the program are only completing about 40% of their water bills after 2 years. So we're seeing like double the amount that's able to be paid back, which means the city starts making money back. So in Chicago, we have $780 million in water debt currently. So that's money the city is just not receiving at all. So it's when there is this program, the city starts making money again. And we've seen with utility billing relief over the last 4 years that it's been around, it was a pilot program, then it was codified. There's been $33 million in debt that's wiped, but we still have $780 million. And we're seeing in Philadelphia, smaller population, but like, it's not that different, in my opinion. So it's like, we're seeing that people are actually being able to pay their water bills because of that. In Baltimore, it's a very similar case. There's also applies to renters as well. And they are also seeing it did not cost the city a lot of money, and they're making a ton back because again, if people can pay their bills, they're going to be able to. Nobody wants to not be paying their bills. People don't want to be delinquent on payments. People don't want to have their houses taken away. People don't want any sort of these things. We want to be able to pay our bills. I want to pay my bills. So like, that's the thing. So it's like Philadelphia and Baltimore. Now Michigan has some more of a statewide program that I'm trying to track, but Philadelphia and Baltimore, both are amazing. And their ordinances have impacted, or their ordinances and programs have impacted how we're trying to shape Chicago. So we know this is working in other cities that have similar issues and demographics as Chicago. And we know it works, so let's do it.
I just want to add, the Michigan, so there are a few proposals floating in the Michigan legislature right now, that I'm also trying to track. And to date, no state has pulled off a statewide water affordability program. And there are a lot of different approaches and configurations. So what Oliver just described are percentage of income plans that would cap payment water bills at a certain percentage of income for eligible folks. And I want to just emphasize the importance of that debt relief component that we have in Chicago and that are in place in other places. Elevate is partnering with Cook County on a water affordability pilot program, again, leveraging ARPA funding to erase water debt in low-income communities. And we're excited about another prong of that program that includes water efficiency. Right now it's fully subscribed, but we're really excited to offer leak repair services and be able to track the relationship, as Yvonne was mentioning, between water bills and water efficiency. So we've heard a couple anecdotes, and Elevate has experience working with folks on surprisingly high bills that are due to leaks. Sometimes those are things that you don't see in your home. It's just happening underground. And in that case, the protocols that should be in place around notification, those are matters of public policy, right? That's not just something happened, no one caught it, and now somebody's at risk of a lien on their home, or some other really like ruinous financial situation. And so Elevate supports policies that require notification and require protections for folks experiencing those types of surprise bills. And I'll just give an example that we learned about. And it was a case of a family passing down a home that someone had lived in for a long time and then sat vacant for a while. Then when the owner came to move in, even though it had been vacant, no water had been used, years of water bills had accumulated. And all of a sudden you think you're moving into this home that your grandmother or aunt or mother left you. And it's like thousands of dollars that you're supposed to come current on. And those are the kinds of things where if we had an updated billing system, from this century, if we had the types of like tools and resources and we invested in world-class customer service and administrative capacity to really deliver on like great water service, those kinds of things might not be so common. It might be a little bit easier to count on those systems working for people and not causing those headaches. So I just wanted to underscore some of what Oliver shared and lift up some of what we're testing out in Cook County, and we'll be working on long-term policy priorities for the county and in partnership with folks at the city and the state level as well.
I'm glad y'all are doing that work. I'm so glad that's happening. I wasn't exactly aware. I knew you all were doing the kind of work, but it's interesting to hear like just the in-depth of what you all are doing. This is the last question that we have, before we take any questions from the audience. The last question is, how can we improve transparency and public understanding of how water rates are set and used? So we've talked about once the water rates are already set and people can't afford their water, but we haven't really talked about how they're set. I know Yvonne touched on it a little bit, but I guess, yeah, how can we improve the transparency around it?
It's a really hard question because every place in Illinois has like different except for those that are either built through the big utilities like Aqua Illinois or Illinois American Water. Those two are still regulated by the Illinois Commerce Commission, so they have to abide by the Illinois Commerce Commission rules. And I think that's a little bit easier to get some transparency in terms of understanding their bill, their rates and what they're charging. But when it comes to municipalities, each municipality has their own government that looks over what's being charged. In either case, I think we need to talk to our elected officials and push for better policy and reforms that can benefit customers. But it is a very complicated topic because of the difference. It's not like with electric and water that we have two big utilities and that's it. In terms of water, every municipality has their own billing system, so it's really hard. But I think talking to elected officials and also trying to avoid privatization as much as possible, because when these big companies buy the small municipality water systems, then they're just increasing rates and passing on all the costs to the customers.
Yeah, I'll just add to that from the Chicago side as well, is that different departments need to actually talk to each other. That's been an ongoing thing. There was a subject matter hearing over that last year. It did not necessarily get the results that were wanted within that as well. So I would just say like, yeah, like there just needs to be more transparency within the departments itself. We need to actually who runs these departments. It's really difficult to know who we should be talking to as well, or on your water bill, who you should be talking to as well. Often we're getting a game of telephone where ultimately you're told, just do it, pay the bill, I don't care. So that's often what we're receiving for people. So what else did I want to say with that as well, is just that like, oh, also we should know, so city council approves water rate increases every year. This is in with the rate of inflation, so sometimes these things may just happen. But we should know, like, our aldermen actually do decide if this happens or not. Like, they can decide how much it doesn't or it does. That's currently a Lightfoot era rule that it should increase in regard to inflation. And what would happen if we didn't? Like, we know that rates are already unaffordable for a ton of Chicagoans. It's gonna continue to increase for more and more Chicagoans. So what would it mean for us to be able to have this outreach to our alder people, which I'll talk about in a second? What would that mean for that? Because like they are ultimately in control of what's happening with our water. Each year it increases on June 1st. It got approved. It's happening. Like, I don't have a better way to put it, but like water rates are gonna increase. If you pay your water bill, it's gonna increase. And what would it mean if it didn't? Like, what could we do to change that? But yeah, I think greater transparency within the different departments within city halls, so Department of Water Management, Department of Finance, so that people aren't getting a game of telephone every single time they try to call and figure out why they're being overbilled.
I would also add that we have seen a decline in federal investment in water systems just precipitously from over the last 50 years. That changed with the bipartisan infrastructure law passed in 2021 that offered sort of a tranche of funding that we hadn't seen in a long time, including $15 billion for lead service line replacement, close to 50 for water infrastructure, 50 billion for water infrastructure generally. But those dollars are cycling out, and it was never enough to address the backlog of water system infrastructure challenges and upgrades that are needed. So I think when we talk about what it takes to invest in our water systems to provide excellent water service, excellent customer service, so that everybody can enjoy safe, clean, affordable water, we have to look at the history of disinvestment and recognize that there was a moment where it was where the federal government sort of exited the game and left municipalities on their own. And not every municipality has the same capacity to make those critical infrastructure investments, to upgrade their systems. We know that the history of segregation and redlining across the country, including in the Chicagoland area, has left vast disparities in terms of resources, and that shows up in municipal services. Water is one of those municipal services that we cannot compromise on because it is about public health. It is something we all need to live. And so when we think about rate increases, the unfortunate truth is that our water systems need more funding, and they have few places to look for that funding. We hope to see the continued bipartisan support for water infrastructure investment for our water systems across the country. We hope to see Illinois get its fair share of that pie, and we hope to see those resources invested wisely. At the same time, that's not a guarantee, and water systems do need to raise rates sometimes for very good reasons, to be able to like stay ahead and not face the kind of backlog that then might force them to sell off their water systems, right? But what we want to see is that when those rate increases are happening to make those good investments, that those water systems are accountable and transparent about how those dollars are managed, that they stay in water funds, and that water affordability and assistance programs are implemented alongside those increases so that, yes, we're investing in our water systems, but we're not doing it on the backs of the people who can't afford it. So it's a complicated picture, but it's really important that we are clear on how we got here and what the tools are that we need to move forward and have well-resourced water systems and water security for households.
Thank you. That closes out our Q&A session. Just wanted to add just to that final point. EJA was huge, or the bipartisan infrastructure law, whichever one you want to call it. I mean, it was huge for water infrastructure, not even just water affordability and infrastructure, but like PFAS, a lot of different things. And so I'm curious to see how the new administration is going to potentially invest in water. Haven't heard as many negative connotations associated with water from this administration. So we'll see if we will get another EJA or something, some form of that in the coming years. But with that, I did want to open up the Q&A to the audience online in person and see if folks have any questions for our panelists. Yes.
I do. As far as financial assistance, I've heard about the financial assistance, but if someone is having experience in high water bill. As far as someone experiencing high water bills, where would they actually receive that support? I know about the UBR, but I believe that's for folks who are low income. What about people who, everyday folks, and like, just unfortunately, we don't qualify, you're over that 200%, like you said. What happens to people who are experiencing, the high water bills? What other opportunity assistance is available?
You have a specific answer?
Do you?
Yeah, I do, but I was just wondering.
You go first. I'm gonna get in trouble if I give out the hotline number too much. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't care. I don't work there.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I appreciate that question, and ultimately goes to why we need affordable rates for absolutely everybody, even middle to high income households. We're focusing on low income currently. But right now, if you get a bill that say spikes from $100 to $20,000 over the course of, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. We could talk later. But like if your water bill spikes to an incredible degree, it still is that game of telephone of Department of Water Management, Department of Finance. What I will say is they will likely offer you a payment assistance program, but it's probably going to be like, if it's, let's just say, for example, the $20,000 bill, not saying that's what you have, it's still going to be like $3,000 to $5,000 a month that they're offering for you to pay, or otherwise you go into delinquency. Currently, there really isn't much else to do. And I am sorry for the situations in which people are middle to high income and are still receiving incredibly unaffordable bills. Nobody can pay a $20,000 bill. Like nobody can just do that. Just like, I'm good, thanks. So like, yeah, like I am not sure necessarily what to say other than like, they're just gonna say, pay it and try to pay the actual income thing. They're gonna try to say, just do your payment plan, or else you'll go into delinquency. So I would say, to the best of your ability, try to pay it. But Annalisa, if you have a better thing with that, but that's as far as I know for middle to high income, or people that are above 250% of the federal poverty line, which is 60% of Chicagoans. So like, it is still a majority of Chicagoans that aren't able to qualify within those specific discount programs.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just say, there are unfortunately very few resources, but I will do my best to find contact information for the places that do offer support. Some of it, right, might be suburban cook. Sometimes you're not eligible if you live in certain areas. There's kind of a patchwork of assistance programs and providers. But maybe our hosts will be so kind as to send information out if you can do a little roundup of resources.
Definitely, we can definitely follow participants. The recording will be sent out as well, along with some of those resources. I don't see any questions in the chat. Oh, yes.
So, we talked about like those bills spiking from like a regular like $200 to like 20,000.
Right.
Let's keep throwing that number, but we've seen in recent TV, reports that happens. So what are some of the tools as a homeowner that I need to be looking at when I'm looking at my bill? In terms of like the water leaks, what are some of the signs? Does having a meter kind of help me? What are some of the things that as a homeowner, we could start doing and looking, at and maybe monitoring our usage?
I can. For leaks, you can actually call the city of Chicago Water and ask them to come and check. However, if there's a leak in your home, however, if there's a leak in your home and it's on your property, you are responsible to take care of those leaks. But there are also, energy efficiency or water efficiency tips that you can follow just to lower the usage, and having a meter definitely, helps. People who do not have a meter, usually pay significantly more than those who have a meter. Some of the tips that we always talk about are like, if you're gonna wash your clothes, just make sure that you do a full load instead of like washing, like, I know many people like separating colors, but if you do a full load of your laundry, that is gonna likely save you more. Also looking for energy efficient appliances and simple actions like shutting off the faucet when you're brushing your teeth, or like when you're washing the dishes, don't have the water running all the time. And I know that's a huge problem that I have at home with my husband, but small changes like that can help save water. Also, keep a water bottle of your drinking water in the fridge instead of like running, or what was I gonna say? Instead of Cabrera. Yeah, thank you. Like, yes. So for drinking water, what else? But I already talked about faucet aerators, and efficient shower heads. Those are small ways that you can save water at home and bring your bill down. And now, if there is a leak, then you definitely have to take care of it. Also checking your toilets, making sure that they are working properly. And sometimes I've even seen people that have like ways to make it more efficient, like not filling up all the way at the top, like, and you know, there are the old toilets use a lot more water when you flush them, so getting a maybe a more efficient toilet, or if you are not ready just to change it, you can actually put like a water, fill up a water bottle or something. So it takes up more room inside the tank and it doesn't fill up as much.
Can I add a couple things?
Absolutely.
In addition to sort of water efficiency upgrades, which is a great idea, I just wanted to mention that if you see or experience a leak or break in your service line, again, that's that pipe that connects your home to the water main underneath the street. If that break happens, contact the city of Chicago, and you live in the city of Chicago, contact the city of Chicago. They are supposed to be fixing those within 30 days, and if it's on the city's side, that's supposed to be a full lead service line replacement, fully covered by the city. So know your options, get in touch. If the leak is happening on, or a break in the service line happens on the public side, so before the meter, you may not see a huge bill, but you might see flooding in your, in front of your home or something like that. So just make sure you're in touch with the city. And if the leak is happening in your home or on your property, still call, because you don't want to be getting billed for something you can't control, and you want as many resources as possible to try to get that leak under control.
How is that leak found?
Sometimes it's not found very quickly, and that's a problem too. But if it's in the service line, you'll experience a change in water pressure. You'll likely see signs, but as Yvonne was saying, a lot of times it is like a running toilet that whether it's leaking or just constantly like sending water down the drain, that really adds up. Yeah, usually you can. Sometimes there are leaks inside the home, and that can also cause significant damage to the property, right? Even if you're not on a metered account and you're not seeing a change in your bill, being aware of and just following good practice and maintaining your plumbing as best you can, because you don't want to mess with water damage.
And I would say, just from a recent experience with a leaking toilet, YouTube is always, a lot of these things can be easily done that are behind the toilet. 'Cause I had one that was overrunning, and I told my dad, and I was just like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And he was like, do you know how much money that could cost? And what he was saying was true. And so I actually just went on YouTube, and I was like, oh, it was like the chain for the thing was too long. Like, there's very simple things that you can just do that could save you hundreds of dollars. So
Yeah.
I just want to add on to the leaky toilet one, 100% agree.
Question to the panel. I'm curious. Since you were just talking about like lead service line replacement, I'm curious if there's a relationship between your like water usage and lead service lines. So like if you might be more at risk for having like a leak or something like that, if you have lead service lines, and it may, increase your water bill, if you have lead service lines versus maybe a different material or if it was replaced.
You have an initial answer.
If there's a connection between lead service lines and leaks.
And yeah.
And
it's sort of
affordability.
like water efficiency, so that it might increase your bill.
Not that I know of, but what I can say is that if your plumbing is in bad repair, like both of those things could happen, so maybe like a correlation, not causation kind of thing. Thank you. Do you have a response, Oliver?
Yeah, I'll say specifically and stuff like that is typically lead service lines are happening on older homes altogether. So far south and west sides, which are also seeing increased in unaffordable water rates. I can't say anything specifically off of the top of my head, but what I can say is like both things are occurring at the same time. Chicago didn't ban lead service lines until the 1980s, and that's where a lot of south and west side homes were built before then. So a lot of them are lead service line replacements, lead service lines themselves. So we know that they are degrading and they are leaching into the water. And so again, I can't necessarily name off the top of my head because I don't necessarily work on lead. But to say that like we are seeing the same areas that have unaffordable water bills have lead service lines. And also previously before the water shut off ban, also we're having the most water shut offs in the exact same neighborhoods.
Okay, well, I think that concludes our panel and our Q&A session. So that was great. Oliver, to close us out, did you want to give a call to actions and community resources?
I would love nothing more. So what we have going on is the Water for All Coalition and the Water for All Ordinance. I will be brief. I've been doing this for 4 years. I can get it down in 4 minutes. So what we have right now is Water for All started in Chicago when we started doing listening sessions with far south side residents, and people were saying that their water bills were continuing to increase despite not using any more water than they were actually using, metered or non-metered. seeing bills rise, like we're just saying, as our example numbers, but our actual numbers, 200 bi-monthly to 2,000 bi-monthly. And 2,000 to 20,000. I know people that have it up into the 60,000s for less than a 5-unit household that is completely vacant property. I will talk to you after if you'd like to know more. So what we did was create the Water for All Coalition. That is 40 Chicago-based organizations that exist throughout the entire city. Labor groups, there's medical groups, there's EJ groups, there's just general groups, all together around the focus of water affordability. Demands of this organization or of this coalition led to the Water for All ordinance, which is seeking to provide affordable water rates for low-income Chicagoans up to 250% of the federal poverty line. Great, we got utility billing relief. Let's expand it a little bit more. So it's a 3-tiered income structure with lowest income Chicagoans not actually paying anything on their water bill. If you make less than, let's say you're a family of one, you make like 15K a year, you don't have to worry about paying your water bill. You have other shit to worry about. Pardon me. You have other stuff you need to worry about. So it'll go up to 250% of the federal poverty line and include renters. This is an ordinance that already exists. Super cool. It has a majority in city council within their committee. City council is broken up into committees. The entire council is 50 people plus the aldermen. Environmental committee, super cool. It's mostly progressive. It's 15 aldermen. We have 12 out of those 15 that are in support of the Water for All ordinance. So this will be great. It bans liens and foreclosures like we were talking about before, which are very regressive and happen more in the state of Illinois. So right now, the only opposition truly was within some of the other city hall offices. So what we're asking for you all, which would be absolutely amazing, is if you're joining online, would love if you'd be able to put your email in the chat. If you're down, would absolutely love to talk to you more about water affordability. It is my bread and butter. Would love it. So we can talk more about that with ultimately our goal is having a committee and council vote. I will just say our major opposition right now is coming from the mayor's office. So we are C3. We're not saying anything else about that. I am just saying that like, that's where a majority of the opposition comes. It's not from the aldermanic side. So we want to be able to push for that. To make sure that water for affordability is a priority within the mayor's office. So I would absolutely love to talk to you more about water affordability in Chicago. If you haven't had any experience with unaffordable water bills, if you're just interested in hearing more, I'd absolutely love to talk to you about this. We will have some upcoming actions and events. I also will have potentially in Ayana with like the follow-up information, a petition to sign just to say like, hey, water affordability is very, very important to me. I'd love to move forward with any sort of legislation that pushes for this. If not, just I really, really care about water affordability. I want to know what's going on next. So we will have that. We'll have upcoming actions that'll be happening throughout Chicago that I would love to share out. So if you put your email in the chat, would love to follow up with you and share with you any upcoming dates. We want to make sure that everybody in Chicago has clean and affordable water. That's our ultimate goal for everybody here. We want to make sure that people have that, and there is a concrete way in order for us to have that. So that is my thing. Please feel free to put your email in the chat. I'd love to follow up with you. It'd be really amazing.
Thanks, Oliver. And can we give a round of applause one more time? Again, thank you to MFS, thank you to Paula, thank you to Anna, for us being in this space. Thank you, Northwestern folks from Inside Climate News for being here as well. Thank you for joining us. And as mentioned, the recording will be sent out. We'll also share out some resources as well. So thank you all again for joining us tonight. And yeah, that's cool. Have a good night.
Thank you.